Today on the topping show, Vivek on the mainstream media list of lies goes viral. Planet Fitness is roasted after standing by a policy allowing biological men to change into women's locker rooms. Robert F. Kennedy calls the TikTok ban a Trojan Horse as well. Budlight farm tweet is mostly flat. Joann Fabrics files for bankruptcy. Fisker pauses production. Nordstrom Family is looking to perhaps take the company back private again. And Facebook Meta has yet another outage. All of that and much more on the topping show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder released twice today. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Joann Fabrics filing for bankruptcy. Now, this after most craft stores had a huge boom during the pandemic when the government forced people to basically stay at their home, and there really wasn't a lot to do. So a lot of people got back into hobbying and crafting, and Joann Fabrics, being one of the big three or big four outlets for hobbies, they had a big boom in business. So they actually did pretty well a couple of years ago. But that bubble has kind of burst as more and more people are going back outside and they're shifting their hobby preferences. Now, they specifically filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and the company said that its website and 850 stores would remain operational, adding that about 95% of those locations are cash flow positive. Now, this is also according to LinkedIn. They say the 81-year-old retailer has struggled with debts topping $1 billion, and as well as shoppers declining discretionary spending amid high inflation. Again, discretionary spending being a fancy term for you don't need anything there. It's 110% a luxury item. The only exception being perhaps you're making a product that you can resell from going to the store. But again, you don't need anything there. It's a pure luxury and perhaps sometimes a spontaneous purchase. And again, U.S. inflation, thanks to the government ineptitudes on the left and the right, have made the U.S. dollar worth less and less and less and less. Now, it'll be interesting to see. Their stock has officially been delisted from NASDAQ as part of this bankruptcy proceedings, and they say that after the process is complete, the chain plans to go private. So again, this isn't too surprising because again, they're loaded up on, again, over $1 billion in debt, and we've seen a lot of these companies going private lately. If you think about the major hobby stores, Hobby Lobby has always been private, famously founded by the Green family. And then the biggest competitor I can think of them would be Texas-based Michaels, which I believe 48 months ago, this was purchased by a private equity company. I believe it was Apollo Management, but they went private, or they were privately by a private equity company. So that essentially seems to be where that specific industry seems to be moving, or where the pendulum is swinging for that trend. And again, they say that 95% of the stores are cash flow positive, which is great. So it'll be interesting to see as they go private, what will that to do to change things, make sure they don't make the same mistakes, make sure they don't get loaded up on debt. Then of course, eventually you want to get an ROI on this. That means long term, eventually the private company, they're going to either sell it off to someone else or they're going to relist it again. But anecdotally speaking, I've seen them once or twice driving around town. But granted, I'm probably not their core demographic either. But truth be told, I don't think I've ever been inside of a Joann's Fabrics. Have you? Again, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Fisker pausing production for 6 weeks as they desperately try to find more money. Now, Fisker perhaps is best known for the douchey Justin Bieber car that they gave him a couple years ago, or probably about 10 years ago now. It's called the Fisker Karma, which looked kind of interesting. And they, of course, in the lowest of class for that vehicle in terms of my aesthetically speaking, they wrapped it, or Justin Bieber wrapped it in like a chrome wrap, which there's a time and place for everything, and that car just looked tacky and ridiculous to me. So it's kind of known as a boutique electric car manufacturer. However, they try to do everything in-house in terms of the assembly, the production, which, again, that's a huge task to say the least. And because there are so many variables that go into manufacturing a vehicle, it's just assembling the vehicle, getting the right parts, manufacturing your own parts. There's a lot of quality control issues. So bad they actually one of the reasons that they originally went bankrupt. Now, they did come back a few years ago, and they had an IPO, and they have a couple of interesting things. Truth be told, one of my friends actually got the Fisker forget what they call the SUV. Their marketing isn't good enough for me to know, but nevertheless, they do have an SUV, and most of the production is handled. It's not the name of the company eludes me at the moment, but it's an OEM manufacturer, I believe, out of Austria. AKA, they're not making it in their own facilities anymore. Fisker is basically designing it, and they're putting their own spin on it, but then they're paying someone else to actually produce it for them, which again, that dramatically decreases overhead. And they're giving it out to a professional where they have a track record of, hey, we know how to assemble a vehicle, we know how to actually get things going, get things rolling. Pun moderately intended, since the vehicle is supposed to roll forward when it's fully charged. Now, this comes to us originally from Jack Fitzgerald over at Car and Driver, and they note that there's talks with a large unnamed automaker continue, while an existing investor has committed up to a further $150 million in funding, which is quite a bit to say the least. And I can't help but suspect when it comes to the EV industry, there's so much FOMO or fear of missing out. I mean, how many times have we heard, even just anecdotally with our friends, everyone who thought like maybe they should invest in Tesla and they didn't, and it was like the biggest worst financial decision they ever made, because Tesla beat all the odds and ended up being one of the most valuable companies on the planet. And truth be told, you can easily argue they're the most successful EV company in history. Now, interestingly enough, let's see this Fisker stock ticker. It might be entertaining, at least to say the least. And granted, by the time this video is actually rendered and uploaded, it'll be, price would change a little bit. But this will give someone a little barometer. As of the time of this recording, it's currently trading for 13 cents per share. So they are definitely being delisted unless they have to, reverse stock split? I don't know. Because again, in the New York Stock Exchange, if you are, I believe you get 2 slaps on the wrist basically. If your stock goes below $1 per share, before they basically just delist you, they kick you off. And I remember back in the day when I covered Pure One Imports, their stock got to $1, but it did, I think it was 88 cents per share, but then they did a split. Not a split, was it a reverse split? I forget the technical term, but they actually moved things around so that their price was above $1 per share. And again, the market cap is, sad to say the least, it's $69.92 million, which, again, for an EV automotive company, is nothing. It's 52-week high, and as we say, investing is, hindsight's always 2020 when it comes to investing, which is why I don't give investing advice, with the exception of advice being, invest in yourself, try a new craft or trade. But nevertheless, their 52-week high was $7.22 per share. And now it's down to 13 cents per share. Now, the 52-week low, and it was actually a couple of hours ago, is at 12 cents per share, which means you can get 2 shares of this stock or just almost have enough money to buy a gumball, which is astonishing to say the least. Their 5-year trend, it just shouldn't be too surprising. Their stock has lost 98.7% of its value, and granted, year to date, it's down 92.17%, starting off the year January 1st at January 2nd at $1.63 per share. So, again, I'm glad I never rolled the dice and tried to invest in that, since, you think it's so low, it has to go up. No, they have fierce competition, but they have a lot of things going against them. Now, again, they have secured $150 million in financing. So that's going to help out, but I can't but wonder, they say they're going to resume production, the date March 18th, 2024. And they're saying this will help them align inventory levels and progress strategic and financial initiatives. Which is, it's a nice way of saying we don't need to produce that much, because I don't think demand is there. Because again, there's demand for the EVs. There's about 18 people who want them. Kidding, there's 19 or 20. But humor aside, the biggest growing car category, or automotive category in the United States that people are looking to buy is hybrids. The pumps are being braked on the EVs, pun moderately intended. The adoption rate is decreasing, and the competition is much more fierce and stable. I mean, Tesla actually turned a profit in the EV market, which again is, for many people, thought was insurmountable. It took years for them to get that, but now you could argue Tesla is a very stable company. I mean, they've been around for quite some time. They have their own customer support. They have their own support. You can't fix it yourself, unfortunately, because it's like a smartphone. But what would be the compelling reason to buy a Fisker SUV? What do they call this thing? Over a Tesla SUV. I mean, it might be, let's see here. Let's see. Looks like, yeah, in 2023, their sales weren't even that great relative to the market. So in 2023, they delivered 10,193 vehicles. Wait a minute, they produced that. but delivered only 4,929 vehicles in the same time period. Now they say they have plans for 2025 and 2026. They're going to call it the Alaska pickup for under 20 grand and the Pear SUV. Granted, when it comes to marketing, I'm pretty much impressed with anything that isn't just a number like BMW does so famously. So the fact that they have a moderately amusing name for a vehicle, I appreciate that. They have the Pear SUV and the Alaska pickup, which, again, it's kind of entertaining for, I would suppose it'd be pear-shaped as an SUV, but I can't but think, the company they seem to be circling the drain very, not too dissimilar to Rivian. Not Rivian, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Nordstrom Motors, which was headquartered famously out of Nordstrom. Rivian they have their own issues. Their stock has been troubling, but they're actually producing their own vehicles and getting the vehicle sales numbers up. Still losing a fair amount per vehicle, but they're moving the company in the right direction by losing less money each and every vehicle. So they're moving in the right direction. When it comes to Fisker, do you know anyone who has bought a Fisker in the past couple of years? I know one person. And truth be told, this friend likes different unusual vehicles. And it certainly is that, because I think I've seen one ever on the roads. Granted, anecdotally speaking, from the great country, or some say the state of Texas. So it'd be interesting to see. Let me know, would you ever think of investing in Fisker, or do you think you'd ever buy one of their vehicles? And why would you choose a Fisker EV when the competition is heating up higher than the lithium batteries exploding? Pun intended. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have the Nordstrom family considering taking the retailer private. Now, Nordstrom is perhaps one of the most best examples of customer service when it comes to a brick and mortar store and retail. One of my favorite stories, it was such a good story, became legend, and it is real. So, fun little ADHD story about Nordstrom's and them having unparalleled customer service. There was a gentleman who, way back, I believe in the 60s or 70s, he went out and they bought, tire chains for his vehicle. Which, if you don't live in an inclimatic area or you don't have snow around you might not know. Sometimes you have to put chains on the tires to get more traction. So he purchased tire chains from a little discount, like a utility store. He bought them, and apparently maybe a year went by, and he never used them. And when he went back to the store, Nordstrom had bought that store to expand one of their retail establishments. So when he went there, it was just a Nordstrom's, which famously has clothing and apparel accessories. So I went inside and he talked to the manager. He goes, "Hey, I bought these here last year. I want a refund." And apparently, I believe the chains are still new. They weren't used. And the manager just goes, "All right." And they gave him a refund. And that type of customer loyalty, or rather retailer loyalty to the customer and doing the right thing, is so unparalleled. It became a thing of legend. And truth be told, I've had family members work at Nordstrom throughout the years, and the experience is pretty similar in terms of you always treat the customer exceptionally well. They charge a premium for their products, but it's an overall very pleasant experience. So it's had astronomical success throughout the years, providing that unique experience for folks. And however, they are, like many brick and mortars, they've had their challenges throughout the years. So if you let me hear Nordstrom, pull up their stock really quick, look at that long-term trend. And again, this might be speculation since, again, as soon as this news came out that, they might go private again, the stock jumped 9%, which, again, makes sense, because, again, usually it's going to be bought at a premium. Now, let me pull it up. So let me actually pull up the specific stock price for it. Let's see here. Spelling usually helps sometimes. Nordstrom stock. So it's currently trading $18.95 per share. Now the 52-week low was $12.88 per share with a 52-week high of $23.53 per share. Now looking at the long-term trend, the 5-year trend, it's been pretty rough. The 5-year trend is down about 55.84%. So that's been quite bad to say the least. Now we go to the 1-year trend, they are increasing. They started the year about $15 per share. In the past 12 months, they've gone up 17.76%. The most American of all percentages. And they are based in the greatest country, America. Some might debate that it is based in Seattle, Washington. But nevertheless, they were also founded in 1901 by Eric B. Nordstrom. Fun little facts as well. The revenue is actually, the last reported revenue was $14.79 billion in 2021, with 60,000 employees. Now, it looks like the Nordstrom family currently owns about 30% of the company, and they claim that it might be working with Morgan Stanley and investment bank Centerview Partners to test private equity firms' interest with the deal. Now, they noted that a similar attempt was for the company to go private was attempted in 2018, but it collapsed. LinkedIn also noted this is the latest privatization effort. Comes as inflation is squeezing shoppers and retailers and is forecasting flat to disappointing sales in 2024, with Macy's facing similar instances, which Macy's is actually trying to push back on going private as they've had a few people try to buy them out. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure how much appetite there is to take one of those companies private, because there's so much risk when it comes to retail in general, just as an industry, but also with clothing. You're having major disruptions when it comes to the fashion apparel. Well, not me personally, obviously. You just buy one good suit and make it last forever. But there are these apps like Temu and Shimu and Babu, and I might be making up one of those, I can't tell. But you have these apps where you work direct with the manufacturer overseas, and they can ship it to you for a fraction of the cost. With, I think, the only downside being, maybe it'll take a little bit while unless they're flying the materials over here. But there's exponentially increasing competition. So let me know, do you think they should go private, or be better just to keep it, be a publicly exchanged company? As always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Planet Fitness stands by their decision to allow men to change in women's locker rooms, going viral again, and they're increasing the virality in terms of a lot of people are starting to boycott the company. Now, this was brought to us thanks to Libs of TikTok on X Twitter, and she said, quote, "Breaking, I just received this image from Planet Fitness in Alaska. The man who is caught shaving in a woman's restroom is still entering women's private spaces. Planet Fitness stood by him. Their policies allow men to use women's locker rooms, and if you complain, you might have your membership revoked. Planet Fitness is not safe for women." Hashtag, or rather, they did tag Planet Fitness, unquote. Which, again, famously, last week, you had probably someone that looks like a nice old grandma, where she was concerned there was a man in the women's locker room. I think he was shaving in front of a little girl, and again, women change in the locker room. And she reported this to management. And Planet Fitness decided to actually punish the woman reporting it. So they fired grandma, or rather, more accurately, they canceled her membership, which is almost impossible from a gym perspective. It's one of those things where it's a very sticky type of sale. Most of their revenue comes in January. Everyone signs up, and usually they make money because the people who sign up for it and pay for it, they don't cancel, they'll go there. So there's no depreciation on their equipment. It doesn't cost them a lot to facilitate your use because it's not really existent. And when you try to cancel a membership, it's usually extremely prohibitively hard. It's such a cliche. Even Friends made fun of that theme back in the 90s. Now, it looks like you can actually cancel your Planet Fitness online, which I was actually pretty shocked, given, again, the profit margins for the industry are precarious to say the least. But you usually have to show up face-to-face and go through a whole dictionary of paperwork and yell, and it's a whole ordeal for most people. Yeah, another reason I'm extremely thankful to just work out at home. Now, this gentleman is, there's many things wrong with this picture. This gentleman is wearing flip-flops. So they're changing into flip-flops, which I can only think is appropriate at the beach, maybe. Now, granted, I don't think this person they're not wearing socks. So the fashion is not, the fashion does get worse. This gentleman is also wearing a skirt, a bra, and I don't know women's apparel, but what is it, like a tank top, I believe that's what they used to call. Though I don't think they wear them when they drive tanks, but might have to research that another time. But nevertheless, this went viral, getting 4.7 million views in the first 24 hours and 39,000 likes, and reigniting the interest in Planet Fitness, going viral on X Twitter earlier this week. And people are starting to cancel even more and more. And from a perspective of a stockholder, they should be concerned because the stock is dropping. Now, granted, you guys have to be careful when it comes to single variable analysis. But if we look up just kind of the news around Planet Fitness to see what kind of outliers data might be there that could also be affecting their stock price. So let's pull it up on the good old stock ticker here. So their stock price has dropped around 10% since the news broke, since this controversial incident. And even before then, they're actually doing pretty good in terms of the 6 months. Now, let's kind of zoom out a little bit. Now, in the past 5 years, the stock is down 16.53%. Past 1 year, it's down negative 25.22%. Year to date, it is down 26.62%. However, getting closer to the situation, in the past 6 months, the stock did go up 19.27%. In the past month, though, it has gone down 14.75%. And in the past week, it crashed 10.88%. Granted, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, it'll be different. But that kind of gives us a good baseline information to work with. Now, the 52-week low is actually $44.13 per share, the 52-week high being $84.48 per share. So $80.48 per share. So their stock that's a wide margin to say the least. And insultingly enough, if you're an investor, they only pay dividends, so there's no incentive to keep the stock. You just can sell it, someday if you make a profit. Now, it looks like, let's just pull Planet Fitness news. Let's see here. Even on Google, one of the most biased search engines ever, I usually use, truth be told, Brave, even Google is having all these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the top 6 results all have to deal with the controversy. Now, apparently, here are a couple websites. So one of the first ones is Pink News. Their website better be pink, we'll examine. Kind of. The word pink is pink, but I expected this website to be a throw-up of pink. Most of the color is white in terms of the screen. There's a big banner that says, let's support LGBTQ plus rights, and I believe this is obviously a cultural and political website that obviously they have their opinion. And they say that Planet Fitness stands by ban on a member who took photos of trans women in locker room. So apparently, and I didn't know this when this first broke out, the individual is being identified as, trans man or trans woman? So it's apparently this individual identifies as that as well, which adds to the controversy and adds to the backlash as this inevitably is devolving into a political issue with people traditionally, I would say, in the middle or maybe just on the right, saying probably not appropriate to have a biological man, in a women's locker room where women and children are changing, and people on maybe the far left. I have liberal friends as well who don't agree with this, but people on the far left who say, there's no differences, this is totally acceptable, you need to embrace it. So this is a cultural and political phenomenon, and businesses a lot of them are just going crazy trying to figure out what decision is going to make the most money. Now, I think there are also myriad of other issues. How do they get funding? Are they publicly traded? Well, there are certain scores based on being publicly traded, your policies around certain cultural initiatives that actually have whole institutions that will give you money and increase their shares in the company. They'll actually invest because of your stance and scores by some of these cultural and political institutions and ratings. So they're doing this for many reasons, I believe. Now, if we go to the comments, one of the first ones comes from Paul Zazupa saying, quote, Planet Fitness is determined to go out of business. Unbelievable. This is clearly a man changing in a women's locker room. Is this what women want? Unquote. Hashtag boycott Planet Fitness. That got 1.2 thousand likes. And again, it's one of those instances where if they're going to, I don't know, even if they lose half their sales, would they go out of business? They might, because again, the fitness industry is pretty competitive. There's a lot of concern about, all your money's made in January. If this happened in January, this company would be in a lot of trouble. Because again, that's where an overwhelming majority of their sales come from. But, it's nearly, Q1's basically done. I feel like all the sales that Planet Fitness was going to get realistically happened in the first 2 or 3 weeks of January. You'll get some throughout the year, but you're talking, 70-80% plus in Q1. It's a fascinating phenomenon, actually, where most companies will actually make a lot of their money Q4, but fitness industry is, in and of itself, as partially New Year's resolutions. Now, going back to the other comments, you have Red Wave Press saying, quote, boycott Planet Fitness. If companies start becoming financially affected, they tend to abandon their woke ways. Unquote, getting 2.2 thousand likes, which, I think you can confidently say that because Bud Light lost $1.4 billion because of the Dylan Mulvaney controversy, and they dropped Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson or spokesman or brand ambassador, whatever you want to call it, and they've kind of gone back to their traditional marketing. Now, that's not working because they're really not addressing the elephant in the room or Dylan Mulvaney in the room, but I think they lost 30 to 50% of their sales. I don't think it's going to get much worse. So you could argue they stopped the bleeding in terms of, once April 1st comes this year, they're going to say their sales normalized because I don't suspect they'll drop even further at Bud Light. Another topic for another time, perhaps. Now, going down to other comments, you also have Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, time to bankrupt Planet Fitness, unquote, getting 5.9 thousand likes. Valentin Gomez says, quote, "It is clear that Planet Fitness does not care about the well-being of women. They are part of the woke agenda. Time for the Bud Light treatment," unquote. 3 fire emojis, getting 2.1 thousand likes, which, again, I think she's very good at marketing considering she is running for political office and she is proclaimed as a MAGA enthusiast or a member of the MAGA. And again, this type of messaging is going to resonate with, I think, that political party, that political affiliation. I think those folks with that ideology very much agree that men should not be, or biological men should not be, in women's locker rooms, which it'll be interesting if this becomes a huge political issue for the upcoming election, or how many Americans, because again, this is a private business in this, they can do whatever they want. And the issue with the Equal Rights Amendment, where legally speaking, there's not much legal ground to stand on when it comes to men and women not using the same restroom. It's really enforced on a cultural basis in the United States. So it'll be interesting to see if that ever shifts. And we'll do 1 or 2 more comments here. I thought there'd be a couple more contrarian statements, because again, I mean, I don't want this to just be an echo chamber, and there are certainly people who actually do believe it is a good thing for Planet Fitness to be doing this. And truth be told, they'll probably get a couple new investors because of it. Of course, the question is, will those new customers, new prospective investors, is that going to be greater than the number that you've lost? Now, going down to the comment section, you have Sam saying, quote, "Utterly disrespectful towards all women." And it's a picture of a biological man with pink hair, and the text says, "Don't call me sir, I'm a woman." And the girl, we call her the trad wife because she has a traditional beautiful blouse, and she says, "Don't call me sis, I'm a real woman." And then the guy with the pink hair says, "You can't stop me from calling you sis, that's what you are." And she says, "You can't stop me from calling you sir, that's what you are." And that got 4.1 thousand likes. Let's see here. So Branos did a stock, so he actually looked at the stock, and according to his analysis, it actually dropped 13.79% since the news of this cultural, well, not debate, I was going to say this dynamite situation, whatever you want to describe it, PR disaster. Although, again, maybe it's going to increase their sales on the West Coast. That got 807 likes, where he brought up their stock. You have Downtown Ferry saying, quote, "Planet Fitness hates women. They want women's money, but don't want to keep them safe," unquote, getting 305 likes. Sahur Majesti, or, well, if I can pronounce things. Again, I have a fascinating theory. And I'm not a doctor or, a scientist by any means, but I have a theory. If you click the subscribe button, it could help with my speaking ineptitudes and increase with my enunciation and even slowing down my pace of speech, which, thanks to the comments, I know is an issue. When I first started the show, there's basically no subscribers, and truth be told, I made a lot more errors. I stumbled over my words, spoke too fast, but as the subscriber count has increased, I've become a little bit more articulate. Some might debate it's just a modicum of improvement. However, I think it's a little bit. So if you can click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, I'll again attempt to read this person's name, called Sir Majesty, although it is SUHR, and they say, quote, "Time to give Planet Fitness a Bud Light treatment," and cooking 482 likes. Ultra Mega Joy Stay says, quote, "Planet Shitness," unquote, getting 305 likes, which, word pun, I appreciate. Let's see here. Thomas Sewell, oh, not really him, it's a parody account, but it says, "New logo launching today, just kidding, don't sue me." As it says, instead of Planet Fitness, it says Planet P word, which, try to make this moderately family friendly. I can mean anything these days, so I'll clarify it as the male genitalia. They got 196 likes. Jcash Mega Queen, orange emoji, says, quote, "Everyone needs to stop using Planet Fitness now," getting 738 likes. Wally World says, quote, "It's not trans rights, it's pervert rights they're supporting," and getting 684 likes, which, again, I can't help but suspect, I think, long-term, the decision is going to either be go back to default, or because of legal legislation or cultural shift, maybe there's a situation where you have 3 separate restrooms. Now, very similar to the sports issue, that actually would be perhaps not successful in terms of that's not what the people on the far left are arguing for. They're arguing that there's no differences at all, which they wouldn't be happy with having 3 separate restrooms, because that in and of itself would admit that there's that other category. So, but from a legal and cultural perspective, I think that might be an option. I mean, let me know in the comments. I'd be fascinated here. And as I say, they're a publicly traded company. We'll see all their news on how their fiscal quarter is going, where the sales looking like, and it'll be interesting. Now, anecdotally speaking, I think I've been to Planet Fitness once or twice. It's rudimentary at best in terms of a gym. I say that because if you actually work out and try to push yourself, they don't like that. I can't have a theory that they just want you to be lazy and inept and not lose weight to be a member forever. I say this because if you want to lift, and you make any noise at all, they actually have an alarm. I forget what they call it, little stupid thing. They have an alarm. You can't make any noise in your lift. Which, again, I'm not saying you have to be bombastic and scream all over, but you're going to make a fair amount of noise. You might grunt a little bit. And same thing with running. You can't run too fast. It's almost like they don't want you to push yourself. And they also give you away free junk food like once or twice a month or something like that. So, I mean, personally speaking, I would never go there. But let me know, would you ever go back to a Planet Fitness? I mean, they released a public statement. They are behind this decision. I don't see them changing it anytime soon. And again, there are investors or prospective clients who might sign up to the gym because of this policy. I have a theory that, especially short term, that number is lesser than the amount of sales that they will be losing because of this boycott. Again, this is the second time in 2 weeks that it's been trending on X Twitter. So let me know in the comments, when's the last time you've actually been to Planet Fitness? Are you a fan in general? And because of this, would you ever go back, or are you canceling your memberships? Cliche to say, but as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Anheuser-Busch Bud Light farm tweet falls mostly flatter than their beer. Now, this comes to us specifically because of the Anheuser-Busch X Twitter profile, and they say, quote, "Our biggest beers start on local U.S. farms. When you choose Budweiser USA, Busch Beer, Michelob Ultra, and Bud Light, you #choose beer grown here. Proud to lead the industry by bringing the first U.S. farm certified brands to shelves across the country. #farmland," unquote. And they have a picture of, the Bud Light can, the Budweiser can, and the Busch Light can. And he actually got, I don't want to say it's fall flat on his face, but it did. It only got 4 comments, which, not to brag, but even my videos a couple weeks ago, I got one with 6 comments. Now, granted, for me, it's all about quality over quantity, the exact opposite of the methodology or the formulation of Bud Light in general. Then it's all about as much product as possible. Quality, it technically, exists as legally beer. But, again, a couple of things, it's not very compelling. It seems like they made up their own, I don't know, maybe this is a long-standing certification for U.S. Farm Certified. And it is a golden-looking little emblem, so I guess it gets your attention. But, again, this isn't a unique value add of the company. When you consider most of the overwhelming benefits of the few things made in the USA, usually there are things that are usually prohibitively regulated or heavy, hard to transport, and that's why a lot of vehicles and liquids are made here. AKA liquids, like beer, vodka. There's a lot of things that are made in the US in part because it's actually just cheaper to make it here. It's easier to make it here. Now, saying that, they buy all this, they're supporting US farms, I mean, that's pretty much a majority of companies who actually just make or sell food in the United States. They're going to be doing that no matter what. Don't get me wrong, it's still good that the farmers are, being supported, and obviously that's a good thing, but it's not a very unique thing. Because again, their competition does this. They're all buying wheats, oats, barley, apparently rice, which Budweiser actually bragged about making rice beer. I thought that was a pejorative joke for decades. I didn't think they actually did that. Another topic for another time, perhaps. And again, this really doesn't tell me anything except they got a little certification, which average person probably won't care about. It really isn't a compelling reason to buy the product. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the 4 comments are so overwhelmingly positive in response. They think this is, it's inspirational, it's brilliant. They go out and they're going to buy cases of Bud Light. I mean, probably not, but let's dive in and find out. Now, the first comment comes from Maggie Melo Turf Agent, number 93292, Canadian flag, U.S. flag. And then a flag I don't know. I'm actually not sure who it is. Now, Maggie Melo says, quote, "Still not buying it. My best to Dylan and Alyssa," unquote. #let women speak. They got 3 likes. Ryan Tree50 says simply, "You're not U.S. company," unquote, getting 6 likes, which is controversy in and of itself, or debate in and of itself. What is U.S. company? Because again, they used to be headquartered famously in St. Louis. It used to be family owned way back in the day. However, they are now part of a global company called Anheuser-Busch InBev, which owns 40 plus beer brands. Now, they also still have U.S. employees. They make the product here. They pay salaries here. They pay U.S. taxes, but they are publicly traded. Now the profits will go overseas. They have a parent company. So would you actually, a little question here, would you consider them still an American company? Is Honda an American company? They're headquartered famously, of course, in Japan, but they have a U.S. headquarters. They manufacture many of the vehicles here, and the vehicles are darn near bulletproof. Same with Toyota. They have their headquarters globally in Japan, but they have their North American headquarters in the great country, or some might say the state of Texas, or more accurately, Texas. And they employ hundreds of thousands of Americans. They manufacture vehicles here. So on that quick ADHD observation or note, do you consider Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch InBev to be an American company, given all the circumstances? And again, this is from the specific Anheuser-Busch account on X Twitter. Now, other comments, now granted this is going to take too long, there's like 4. Going down, I have to click show more replies, because one comes from CM and it's simply a pride-themed Bud Light can, and it says celebrate everyone's identity, and it has the pronouns he, him, they, he, him, he, they, and let's see if I could pull up the whole thing. She, they, she, her, and they, them, and I think that's Zer. The can wraps, or the text wraps around the can, so you can't read it at all, and then it does have the flag, or not flag, the rainbow on it, and that got 1 like. And then Vanny Mulaney replies saying, quote, "You have to drink this water through a straw now, FYI." Which, I mean, you could debate this so watered down, it's basically water. I suppose that's what they're going for. But in terms of the cultural shift, I mean, this boycott is not letting up. Again, I still believe they probably get maybe 8 to 13% of their sales back that they lost if the CEO, Brendan Whitworth, former CIA operative, were just come out and say, hey, we made a major mistake. We're sorry we tried to sell beer to kids by hiring a brand ambassador whose average audience is 15 years old and is a controversy in and of itself because, again, even the trans community, Dylan Mulvaney did not get the surgery that some of them believe is a requirement to fully transition. So a controversial person, even within that particular cultural part of the United States or globe, whatever you want, whatever this cultural lexicon falls into. But yeah, I can't but think we're not going to see these ratios go down anytime soon. And they only got 89 likes, which, again, let's do a little bit of fun math here. Truth be told, public schools have an all-time low for pretty much every test scores. The ACT score is at a 32-year low. And yet the teachers union say they deserve more money for reasons. Now, we're going to do a little bit of fun math here today. And sadly enough, actually provide more value than some, not all, some public schools in the United States. She had 89 people who saw this liked it out of 20,500. So you're at 89 divided by 2,500. That gives us 0.0043. Now we're going to turn it into percentage by multiplying it by 100. I'll even use a calculator for it, even just move the decimal place. Spoiler alert. That gives us 0.434. Or if you feel so inclined, we could round. Traditionally, if it's under 5 or 5, sometimes you round up. That's a controversy in and of itself. So 0.434. We'll round down. 0.4 people who saw this liked it. Also known as terrible. The people who liked 20,000 people, they couldn't even take the 1/1000th of a second to like this post. Perhaps because there's not much to like about it. Because again, it's just telling us, oh yeah, they support U.S. farmers. Like pretty much every food and beverage company that operates in the U.S. So maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Do you think this is so compelling? You're going to go out and buy cases of Bud Light and celebrate with your friends because now it has a seal, a little sticker that says American Farmland and Trust U.S. Farm Certified. I mean, I don't think it'll affect their sales by even 1%, but let me know in the comments. It'll be fascinating to hear, as always, what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Vivek on the mainstream media lies going viral and even a response from Elon. Now, Vivek said, and again, this went viral to say the least, within the first 48 hours, it got 1.2 million views earlier this week and 39,000 likes. Now, Vivek specifically said on his X Twitter account, quote, "The first MSM outlook to look its own audience in the eye and earnestly say, quote, I'm sorry we systematically lied to you, Russia collusion, COVID, Smollett, January 6th, etc. Here's why it happened and here's how we'll fix it. We'll re-earn your audience trust and dominate its competition, but don't hold your breath, unquote." Which, yeah, again, they're never going to come out and say, oh yeah, we lied to you about not everything, but damn near everything. I think the biggest red flag for the Smollett incident, where he basically faked to own a hate crime against himself. Jesse Smollett was eating a Subway sandwich at like 2 a.m. in Chicago and claimed that he was attacked by a MAGA extremist. In Chicago. Chicago's been voting Democrat for over 85 years. There's like 3 MAGA fans, maybe. Realistically, most of the people who are Republican are in the suburbs. Now, one of the first responses comes from Elon, and Elon simply said, yeah, it got 9.1 thousand likes, which is quite a lot to say the least. Paul Zazupa says, quote, "The mainstream media will never say any of this. They gladly go out of business more than ever do the right thing. Their behavior is pathological. They have no interest in doing anything by promoting but their left narrative, if that results in them shutting down, then they'll be fine by it. Unquote, getting 540 likes. Finally, it took us a couple of days to actually see our favorite contrarian, our favorite leftist. Well, I don't really like him, but I do appreciate contrarian statements because it makes life a little more interesting. You don't want to be an echo chamber. So Luke Zaleski says, quote, and remember when the media pretended Vivek was running for president and he was only auditioning for Trump's lapdog, unquote. Mentally vacuous of a statement. Yes, I think so. But 14 people did agree and like that statement. Now, that being said, hilariously enough, contrary Luke saying this, Vivek did better than some of the traditional politicians. I think Chris Christie ran, or more accurately rolled, to about 3.5% in the poll aggregator when he was running for the Republican nominee. Vivek, impressively enough, for an independent, or he ran as a Republican, but someone who had no political experience, I think he topped out around 11.5%, which again is phenomenal when you're building a brand. And part of me thinks he really did want to go for president. Now, Luke Zaleski, 2 people did respond. Let's see what they said. If we go to his specific response. Someone by the name of USA Forever says, quote, that's just mean. And then Woke Becca D, which, A+ for marketing, you know exactly what her ideology is. She says, or rather she has a screenshot of an article saying Trump rules out Vivek Ramaswamy as running mate as he eyes new team. So one contrarian statement to him and one basically agreeing with him. Now, Luke Zaleski also, this guy's staying busy, he did another response. He says, quote, you're all arguing about Trump's bloodlust when you should be noticing the quid pro quo unfolding in Elon's support for Trump and Trump's support for a 100% tariff on Elon's competitors. I'm quoting 8 likes. Now, 4 people did respond to it. Let's look at those 4 responses. Let's see here. Rich Davis responded by saying, if you would put effort into caring about actual facts and how the media skews them in advancing a leftist narrative generally, you might have more interest even if we disagree about politics and policy. When confronted by a clear case of media dishonesty and you deflect, awful, unquote, getting 1 like. Shinobi says, quote, you're a lying Marxist ideologue, unquote. No likes, but it was there. And Adam Hart Mother says Elon has not supported Trump. Now I do have, a warning sign. It might be spicy. It says, show additional responses that may include offensive content. Of course, we're going to click that button. Well, that's not too controversial. Someone by the name of Lisa simply says, you support China taking over the American auto industry, unquote, getting 1 like. Which again, I don't think that's an insensitive statement by, any means. Now, going to other comments, again, zooming back out to the actual Vivek statement, going back to the comments with him, the rabbit hole says, quote, admitting wrongdoing is step 1 to rebuilding trust. And there's a picture of Trump saying, quote, if I'm not reelected, there will be a bloodbath in the automotive industry, unquote. Then the media zoomed in and says, if I'm not elected, there will be a bloodbath, unquote. Getting 4.5 thousand likes, which is, yes, exactly what the mainstream media did when Trump made that statement. And given the government's current stance on EV vehicles and the mandates, I can't help but think Trump is right on that because, again, they're pushing ironically enough, the most ironic thing in history is unions voting for people who destroy their own jobs. In this case, the United Auto Workers voted for someone who is actually destroying the most profitable vehicles for those companies, which, again, when you look at automotive companies, the American companies are very good at making good old V8 trucks, some sports cars that mostly run. That's where the bread and butter is. I mean, GM, you could argue they perfected the V8. Same with Ford, I think Dodge, Chrysler, now known as Stellantis. And that's where they made most of their money. Those big, good old gas, petrol engines and SUVs, crossovers, those are highly profitable. EVs, you lose money for quite some time. Ford is still losing money on EVs with the losses in the billions. Just like Tesla. Tesla took years to break a profit. And again, there are a lot of things going against the big 3 when it comes to the automotive community, but they are going to be in trouble because, again, they're trying to enter, going from playing checkers to chess. It's an entirely different game. They want to become tech companies, which I don't want to say it's impossible. It's just a very difficult thing to do. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your roster of talent. So I do believe there will be there'll be more detrimental effects for the automotive community if the rules and regulations continue to increase. Now, other interesting responses, you have Liberal Cat Media TM saying, quote, you can't hate them enough, unquote. And it's a picture saying the media is the enemy of the people, getting 1.5 thousand likes. See here. Righteous Crusader says, quote, all you have to do is look at today's dishonest bloodbath narrative to see that the MSM are unrepentant liars who care about nothing. They don't care about the truth. Unquote, getting 439 likes. See here. So I think you also have Stella, We Won't Hold Our Breath, and CNN with all the anchors have clown noses on it. That got 186 likes. And I think Luke Salisi is the only contrarian for this particular thread. Let's see here. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I don't see the mainstream media changing the way they operate or getting a modicum of integrity. They also have millions of funding coming in. They don't just rely on the advertising dollars, strictly speaking, or the subscription dollars. But let me know, what are the odds that they actually admit their wrongdoing and start reporting honestly? I mean, it's not zero, but it's probably like 0.000000000000137. We're probably ballparking it. Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. calling the TikTok ban a Trojan Horse as well, following in the footsteps of both Vivek as well as Trump. Now, Robert F. Kennedy actually is responding to Patrick Webb. Now, Patrick Webb said, quote, "New TikTok bill HR 7521 gives the executive branch of government the power to define any platform website as foreign-owned, even if domestic. Give them the ability to control, censor the content being published by the company." And then they have a screenshot of, let me see here, of the bill. Truth be told, this is probably pretty boring in terms of the words. I don't think there's a lot of interesting bombastic phrases, but I'll read it. And they say, quote, "In general, the term covered company means any entity that operates directly or indirectly, including through a parent company, subsidiary, or affiliate, a website, desktop application, mobile application, or augmented or immersive technology application that permits the user to create an account or profile that generates, shares, and view text, images, videos, real-time communications, or similar content, has more than 1 million monthly active users with respect to at least 2 of the 3 months preceding with the date on which a relevant determination of the president is made by pursuant to paragraph 3B. 3 enables 1 or more users to generate or distribute content that can be viewed by other users of a website, desktop application, mobile application, or augmented reality." And so again, Robert F. Kennedy is responding to Patrick Webb. Robert F. Kennedy says, quote, "The so-called TikTok ban is actually a Trojan horse that could allow the president to ban any website or app merely by asserting that it is controlled or guided by a foreign adversary," unquote. Which is quite concerning to say the least. It got 1.7 million views and 28,000 likes in the first couple days. And again, he's not by no means the only person calling this a Trojan horse. And I suspect many people will be in support of RFK. But let's dive in the comments and find out. Well, the first comments comes from Paul Zazupa. Paul says, quote, "Biden and his establishment supporters are desperate to cheat in the election. X is ruining any of their attempts. Thus, they're trying to attack X. It's crystal clear to anyone paying attention," unquote, getting 271 likes. You have Doug Stafford saying, quote, "Rule 2 of total totalitarianism. Any power the government takes, it will abuse to the maximum extent possible," getting 138 likes. Gilden 6 says, quote, "The Democrats and Republicans agreeing on something is a huge red flag," unquote, getting 249 likes. Not my 3 cents. Granted, it used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation, gotta be 3 cents. I should charge 4 cents, but nevertheless, just my 3 cents today. Those are still technically free to click the subscribe button. But yeah, anytime Republicans and Democrats agree on anything, I start to get suspicious, because when was the last time, they did something that really helped the average Americans? I'm not saying it never happens. I'm just saying you could probably fill all those. You could probably list all those on a cocktail napkin, which is funny because traditionally a cocktail napkin is much smaller than a regular napkin. Which, truth be told, I've never actually bought a napkin, but another story for another time. You also have Holding Collett says, quote, "Imagine if we were having to have a honest policy debates without every bill being a Trojan horse for more state control," unquote, getting 174 likes. Let's see here. Big Joe says, quote, why would disallowing free speech be good for us as a country?" Unquote, getting 27 likes. Scrolling down, the P on the Press says, quote, "The TikTok ban is more aptly referred to as the X Twitter ban. Roughly 85% of elected officials in Congress consider X a highly communicable pathogen for free speech," unquote, getting 36 likes. Preston Hedwood says, quote, "It will be used to ban X," getting 39 likes. Evie Trapper says, quote, 100% spot on. The government doesn't follow the law when they banned everything, not extreme progress far left off social media, they won't follow the law here either. I'm quoting 28 likes. We also have Tracy saying, quote, this ban sets a very dangerous precedent, and it will inevitably lead to the misuse of power, resulting in the banning of various other apps and websites. I'm quote getting 9 likes. Trying to see if there's any contrarian statements here. Tunes says simply, the community noted aspect of this is vital. Company must be controlled by a foreign adversary. If a foreign adversary is a major holder of a company, what does that qualify? Let's pretend this bill is just as stated is in ratified and signed. Go down this list and determine which one of these companies could effectively be shut down, including mobile versions. Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Amazon X, Facebook, Instagram, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Which, again, they say company must be controlled by a foreign adversary. I'm not seeing if they break it down, if they mean controlled by, they have 51% of the stock, if it's publicly traded, or if the owner is just headquartered in one of those states, or one of those foreign adversary countries, if maybe it's headquartered in Russia, or maybe it's headquartered in China. But, I mean, if you look at all the companies that are listed there, I mean, they all operate in one sense or another in pretty much every country. Now, that did get 4 likes. Let's see here. Michael Moons says, quote, Robert, not only this, any censorship is dancing around the First Amendment, getting 1 like. Let's see here. Booker says, just in time for 2024 election, hashtag Elon Musk, beware and protect X at all costs, getting 3 likes. So it looks like overwhelming support for RFK. Now, this is a hugely contentious thing in the Republican Party. It seems like the party is split, which they're very good at splitting and not making any decisions. And a lot of people are saying, no, we still need to ban it because, again, a lot of people are saying it's just glorified Chinese spyware with TikTok. It's essentially just brainwashing kids, showing them the most morally vacuous things on the internet. It's not making them smarter. In fact, it's actually, making them, they're actually adopting tics, physical tics, which I guess we should have saw coming given the name. They're actually adopting negative health things that they're observing on the platform. And it's also wildly addicting for children. Then you have other people saying, well, again, you give the government any ounce of power, you give them an inch, you're going to take a mile, which, again, the U.S. government has done time and time again under both Republican leadership and Democratic leadership. Now, so let me know, do you think this would be better to oppose this bill? You're giving them this power, it's going to be, do you think it'll actually just stop at this one app with just TikTok? Do you think anything would change if they were to pass both the House and the Senate? Well, I already passed one, but overall, do you think this is a big red flag? Are you opposed to this TikTok bill, or are you with it, or supporting it more accurately? Perhaps is how you should be saying it. As always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Meta Facebook having yet another outage, which, again, if you're a tech company, is especially embarrassing considering you work with all that for a living. Now, this comes to us thanks to the New York Post. They note that Facebook, Instagram down for some users as Meta experiences spikes in outages for the second time in 2 weeks. Unquote. This is according to Ariel Zibler over on, again, the New York Post. And we go to one of my favorite websites called Down Detector. They actually will let us look up, what's the breakdown of this outage. So, let me see here. Detector. With Down Detector, it's basically not open. It's one of those websites where anyone can go on and they just report, hey, I have an outage with this app, I have an outage with this website. Now, if we go to Facebook, or I wonder if they just have Meta overall, because Facebook's the parent company, or Meta's the parent company behind all those. Looks like, interestingly enough, not so much. So if we just go to Facebook, let's look at their outage. So it looks like major outages starting around 10 a.m. earlier this week on Wednesday, and it looks like, if you turn to the breakdown of who's having the most issues with it, let's see here. All of the reports, it looks like 73% of the reports are people having experiences where they cannot access the application on their phone. 21% say they cannot access the website on a desktop or laptop computer, and then 6% are specifically saying they have an issue with their login. I can't but wonder if we go to X Twitter. Let's just look up Facebook as a topic. And scroll back to earlier this week. Or if maybe Facebook themselves did a policy. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a lot of people are complaining about it. Now going to the specific article. Looks like Meta claims they're not responding, but let's see here. kind of look at the comments section here really quick. One of the first comments on the New York Post says, quote, make this permanent, getting 9 likes. Hammer says, quote, LOL, they must be updating for the elections. Now I can understand censoring them and their political views, just like they did with a lot of American people who turned out to be right, unquote. Harvey Warlock simply said, good, getting 8 likes. Mike Hunt said, aw, poor Zuck and his people can't go 30 seconds without both, getting 2 likes. Jack Venable says, quote, the Dems will blame Trump, the level more bogus charges, unquote, getting 2 likes. Lexi says, quote, I'm not befuddled to see this. It just occurred in a short 8 days ago. Shake my head. Looks like Jimmy Kagi says, quote, a blessing if these tools go down, getting 3 likes. So again, I mean, they're publicly traded companies, so legally, technically, because of the SEC ruling or mandate, they basically have to tell us if it's a hack. Now, granted, that being said, if you work with the government, there's there's a lot of leeway when it comes to reporting or doing things that are technically you're supposed to. That's why a lot of people speculating, was the AT&T outage really an outage, or was it a cybersecurity attack where the government didn't want us to know about it? That's one of the bigger theories that I've seen on the internet. But again, I mean, Facebook has been having these issues more and more. And again, they only make money when they have uptime or when the application is working. They make money by having your eyeballs glued to the device. Because again, they can take that screen time usage rate and they can take the advertisers and say, hey, Bobby's on this app for 6 hours a day. That's why you should pay us for advertising, because then his eyeballs being glued to it. Maybe they'll buy your widget or something like that. So again, to have an issue or an instance where you make all of your money with advertising and the platform's down, not only I suspect you also have to give refunds, because again, if you're running a campaign on Facebook, well, it's not really happening, is it? So not only are they not making, you can't place an order for like a Facebook ad right now, but you also may have to give up refunds. So it's almost, you have multiple negatives working with you against them. So to have yet another outage, which again chisels away at their brand reputation, they're supposed to be, a tech company, stable, supposed to be working a lot. So they have not only monetary damage, but also the brand damage. That certainly has to be the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Also, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.